Here comes a new challenger!
Hello there everyone, and welcome to another Smash analysis, though in this one it's going to be asking the question, has there ever been a DLC character that was actually OP? Because, you know, every time we see a trailer, people see the trailer and go, this character about to be mad dummy broken! So, you know, let's actually take that question quite literally. Has any character been broken? And by broken, I mean just so unbearably strong that, you know, the broken tier, all right, is above every other tier because it's broken, right? So we're asking the question here, has any DLC character in Ultimate, all the way from Plant to currently Steve, have they been broken? As you can see here, I have 3 different tiers. All right, so we're gonna start in order with Piranha Plant. Piranha Plant, whoops. Piranha Plant obviously is not a broken character, right? The character has a lot of flaws, but, you know, not to go over them too much, just know it's things like lag, weird hitboxes, stuff like that, right? Plant is basically a, you know, a character you'd play just to, like, gimmick out your opponent if they don't have any experience in the matchup, right? Which Piranha Plant is a character you're not going to have much experience against or with. You know, Patugi is it's a very obnoxious projectile, so you don't really know how you're going to be fighting against Piranha Plant, you know what I mean? Piranha Plant, mid-tier, and a lot of people would agree on this one, right? Usually I see Plant mid-tier. So then we go with Joker. The thing about Joker is that people always put him in top tier. But would he be broken? No, he's not. Alright, I'm going to explain why. Even though Joker is a really good character with a lot of great strengths, he still has very exploitable weaknesses, such as his recovery. Recovery without Arsene is a tether recovery, and so longer lasting hitboxes basically just completely kill him. And there's not really a lot that Joker can do off stage. He can try stalling himself out with Gun or Aya, but that's really about it. He's only practically stalling the inevitable. It's one of the reasons why MKLeo, I felt, has gotten away with so much as Joker, is because people just wouldn't edgeguard. But if you do edgeguard Joker, you'd find that he's actually not that impossible to beat in reality. So that's just how Joker is. He's just a character that you have to edgeguard. Now for Hero, this is going to be an interesting take for me, but I think he's a high tier. Some people put him as mid tier, but no matter what, alright, this character is not broken under one condition. I would say that Hero, out of all the DLC characters we're going to be talking about, could in theory be up here, right? Because you have all these projectiles and all these buffs and all the stuff that, you know, Hero has can kill you at literally 0% with a projectile, you know. So Hero definitely has a lot of crazy stuff, right? You know, he even has like Crackle Slash, which can combo into the Whack or Whack. It's really powerful, right? So, you know, Hero's got a lot for him, right? The thing about Hero that doesn't make him broken, though, is that there are still characters that can very much oppress him, right? So his game plan for in the beginning is just to run away or maybe approach but not get too close with his big hitboxes, you know, his aerials. Even though they're slow, you can pretty much retreat with them, and they're really good on that front. And basically just throw out projectiles and keep you away, so he has time to pull out the menu and try to go for something, right? If he gets Acceleratl, he basically wins the game. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't make the rules here, but if he gets Acceleratl, he just wins the game. So in a sense, you know, a character like Sheik, for instance, doesn't let Hero breathe. Hero will absolutely just lose because of Sheik's kit. He just won't be able to get away with the things that he wants to get away with, you know. So again, he's not really broken, but if you spin the wheel of fortune and you get lucky enough, then sure, he might actually win out a bunch of games. But that's also relying on RNG, and RNG is not something you should always rely on, you know what I mean? So that's it. That's him, because, you know, it's a very complicated character. But now we're going to move on to a much simpler character, and this character a lot of people agree is mid-tier. Some may say high tier because Banjo does have egg setups, you know, he can have crazy combos off of his projectiles. It's just all people ever see is egg, zoning, grenade egg, the toss, whatever may have you. This character can be cool. I feel a part of me wants to say he's a high tier character because there's a lot that he can do, but regardless of whether or not you think he's mid tier or high tier, he's still not broken, right? He's not a broken character. He may be obnoxious, right? But he's not broken. That's sort of the main point I'm trying to get across. Now, Terry, some people may say he's broken, but in reality, the thing about Terry that you have to take note of is that Terry online is way more obnoxious than he is offline. Terry basically relies on throwing out moves, and yeah, sure, it may seem lagless, but that's just, again, I feel he's more like a Wi-Fi character, and that's where a lot of people's problems with Terry come from. Right, because he could just throw out moves and get away with it because of his low lag. But offline, it's like, you know, he can't really be throwing out moves like that. You know, he can, and it might work sometimes, but it won't work all the time. And when he's recovering, he just loses to edge guarding, similar to Joker. He gets off stage once, and he's pretty easy to edge guard because his side Bs, for instance, Crack Shoe has no invincibility, and Burn Knuckle only has invincibility on the hand. Power Dunk only has full body invincibility up until the apex, and Rising Tackle only has invincibility full body with charged and only for a few frames, right? Where so like frame 5, and then after he lifts off, right, he only has invincibility on his leg, and he has invincibility on his leg regardless of whether or not you do the charge input. So, you know, edge guarding him is pretty easy. And here's the thing. While you could, you know, like say you're recovering low, you could get to like the bit, you know, the perfect spacing so that Rising Tackle doesn't get you 19 framed. You can't always rely on that. Sometimes you will just go over the ledge, even if you think that you wouldn't, and you die for it. So Terry's definitely not a broken character, not at all. You know, the character does have flaws. You know, that's something I'm trying to point out here. Next up is Byleth. Now, Byleth is very interesting because obviously a lot of people would agree he's mid-tier. Though, funny enough, MK Leo thinks he's a high tier. But then again, it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, is that the player, or is that the character or the player? In my opinion, it's the player, because MK Leo's neutral is extremely good. But when it comes to Byleth, Byleth obviously does have flaws, right? Slow air mobility means he can't really use his aerials to space as best as he wants to. Like, perfectly spaced back air won't get you grabbed, but there are a lot of other characters that can do a lot of other stuff, right? And they're very linear hitboxes, you know? It isn't something that you can angle like Belmont Whip as an example. It just goes straight forward and back. You know what I mean? So stuff like that is kind of right? So there's that. Another thing is that his up B is not a very good out of shield option. He doesn't really have a good out of shield option, honestly, outside of like Nair. And even then, Nair has very wonky hitboxes, right? So there's that. Recovery wise, he has a tether recovery, and well, as I said earlier with Joker, and this applies to Byleth, throw out a hitbox out there and there's not much Byleth can do about it, and the only thing he can stall in the air with is his side B. Now I know what you may be thinking, well, his up B can grab people, but it's really weird because like counters destroy it because they won't like actually grab. Things like K-Roll belly armor will sometimes just like not let it work, and then you have characters like Shulk who could just go, oh, you grabbed me, sorry, neutral B, whoop, you die. So yeah, the up B is very inconsistent on how it works with like certain characters. Obviously that's not like all characters, but even still, I'd argue that, like, as an example, I'd argue that a character like Ganon, right? Ganon's a great example. By the time you try to grab him with your up B, he can probably fast fall up B you, know, if you're not close enough to the ledge for it to grab, or just nair you, because his nair is pretty massive and it's just going to hit you. So again, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to directly come to contact with Byleth's up B. It's just an example that I'm making, right? So tether recoveries aren't that great, you know, but Byleth, I would say, is probably the best out of all the tether recoveries in this game. I'd probably say his is the best. But again, just because it's the best doesn't mean that it can't be defeated. And then we're moving on from Byleth to Min Min, of course. The thing about Min Min is that if I can find her, there she is. It's really up to who you talk to. Some people say high tier, some people say top tier. I'm going to put her in top tier because that's where I think she is, and I'm going to explain why. Offline, when she gets you to ledge, which is not that hard, you know, she can always react to your ledge get up option, and because of that, in theory, you should not be able to escape the ledge unless either you get lucky or you have a character that could just go around and above her, right? Because even though Min Min has an up B, that doesn't necessarily mean you can rely on that to cover people above you, like say Meta Knight as an example. Plus, she also gets hard edge guarded. You know, she's off stage. There's not really a lot she can do. The most she can do is hit you and then cancel that hit into her up B, because that's something that she can do. Or she can use a smash attack in the air to delay herself in the air for a little bit. But that's honestly about it. There's not much she could do off stage, but on stage she's very impressive, but I would still say not broken. I would still say she's like worse than Joker as an example. I would still say that Pika or Paolu would be better options if you're looking for like a top tier with like no real worries of a disadvantage, you know what I mean? So Min Min, very strong, but again, not broken, and that's where we lead with our latest character before the next one comes out, which is Sephiroth, because obviously, you know, Min Min, our first character of this Fighter's Pass, great on her. Now we have Steve, who is the current new guy of the Fighter's Pass, and again, most people would say he's either mid-tier or high-tier, but the point I'm trying to get here is that none of these characters are absolutely broken. None of these characters are Smash 4 Bayonetta. Smash 4 Bayonetta was just far and beyond better than most characters in the game, right? Like, there was just no way you could really physically handle playing against a Bayonetta player. Like, there were some things you could do, but it couldn't save you. And then if you were to look at Smash 4's DLC versus Ultimate's DLC by, you know, we'll just say end of Smash 4, Mewtwo was extremely good, right? Because he had great neutral and had a bunch of kill confirms and footstool stuff and all this, you know, all this sort of stuff. But only one real person was playing him. Bayonetta, oppressive constantly, though she only really won, like, EVO, like, say, that's kind of like her only major tournament win. But even still, a lot of people could say she was easily the best character in the game. Ryu was highly oppressive, and because games were 2 stocks, he made great use of that by just essentially taking away your first stock, like almost instantly. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I know a lot of people would say Smash 4 Ryu was a high tier, but me personally, I always thought he was a top tier. I wouldn't say he's better than Bayonetta or Cloud, and Cloud's another great example. Cloud's really good. Cloud has big sword, big buttons, very oppressive, you know. So, you know, when it comes to the other DLC, like Horan, some would say she's a really high tier character, but, you know, really good. And the thing about Smash 4 is that a lot of characters were bad. The only DLC character out of Smash 4's entire DLC roster was basically Roy, because he lost his shield, and shield was very good in that game. You know, Lucas had essentially an infinite. You know, as long as he could read your DI, he essentially had an infinite with this grab that would always lead to death. So sure, it was hard to like land all the time, but it was possible, you know? So something like that, like when it comes to Smash 4's DLC lineup versus Ultimate's, Smash 4 definitely had a lot more really good characters versus bad characters, which was just one. Whereas with Ultimate, we just have, you know, arguably 1 or 2 top tiers, a lot more high tiers, and a few mid tiers. But like I said, you can make the argument that Byleth might be high tier, that Banjo might be high tier. But I would still say a majority would say these 2 characters are mid tier. You know, for Hero, people would say he's mid tier. For Min Min, they'd say she's high tier. But none of these characters are really broken. So that's why, like with Sephiroth, I feel Sephiroth is going to be one of those characters with big range but has obvious weakness type thing, right? Like Byleth, big range but slow, right? Min Min, big range, bad recovery, right? As examples. So typically, you know, when it comes to a really good Smash character, they only need like 1 or 2 neutral tools, like 1 or 2 really good tools. They don't need like their entire kit to be good. They just need 1 or 2 really good things about them. And so I would say that if Sephiroth, if you were to have like one of those 1 or 2 things that will just make him Omega good, then sure, you could see him as a top tier, high tier. But again, I don't think with Ultimate you really have to worry about any of these characters being broken. I don't think there will ever be a DLC character that will be as oppressive as like Bayonetta, as an example, as oppressive as Cloud, as oppressive as Ryu, you know, etc, etc. So when it comes to it, Ultimate's roster, it is balanced in comparison to other Smash rosters outside of 64, because 64 is basically who just zero deaths you the best. That was basically it. But with Ultimate, there's a case for every character. Obviously, with like mid or low tiers, they basically rely on gimmicks and lack of matchup experience for them to beat you. But even still, I would say that with matchup experience, some of these characters are still better, leagues better than, say, a Smash 4 low tier, mid tier, or a Brawl low tier, mid tier. So these characters, again, not busted. And when it comes to it, the trailers are only meant to portray a character as really good because it gives you the appeal. It makes you want to buy these characters. You know, obviously they're trying to sell you a pass. How do they sell you a pass? By making the DLC look really good. And I'm glad that, you know, because one thing that people get concerned about when it comes to DLC is because they're trying to sell you something, they make these characters purposely overpowered just so, you know, you'd buy them, right? Because you want to play the good characters. You want to be able to keep up with those who are better than you. But with Ultimate, it really seems like they're taking steps to make sure that you're not, you know, that you're playing a character who's good, but not someone who's going to be oppressive, right? So that's what I think they're going with, and I'm glad with that. I'd rather have a DLC where all the characters are like high tier, or sure top tier, but like not the best in the game or something like that, than, you know, with Smash 4, how we had literally 2 top tiers in the form of Bayonetta and Cloud, an arguable top tier with Ryu, Corrin high tier, Lucas with infinites, and Mewtwo also had infinites too. So, you know, I was fun to deal with. And then you just had Roy, who sucked. That was it. You know, so again, no character in this game is broken. No character in this game is broken. Right? There's clearly someone who is far better than everyone else, in my opinion, right? Some may say this one, but yeah. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourselves. You know, I always say, you know, be safe out there because I genuinely worry about you guys. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, please press that funny red subscribe button because it would mean a lot to me, you know, to reach 300 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm uploading daily, so let's try and get it, right? Let's try to reach that goal before the end of 2020. With that all being said, thank you so much for watching. Again, stay safe, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Peace.